Please rise for silent invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Scott. I couldn't tell it was moved because I couldn't see through you.
I couldn't see through Scott. I thought the eagle had fell off.
Yeah.
Somebody's testing us.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Foley.
Here.
Councilmember Tremont.
Here.
Councilmember Bastian.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. Item 4, public comments on consent agenda items. Anything items 6 through 12? There being none, can I have an approval for the evening's agenda?
So moved.
Mayor, real quick. Actually, I'd like to pull item 10 from the consent agenda.
Okay, so now can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda with item 10 being added to the regular agenda?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion, proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion for items 6 through 9, 11, and 12 on consent?
That's where the one
Moved.
removed, right?
Yeah, 6 through 9 and 11 and 12.
Move to approve items 6 through 9 and 11 and 12 from consent.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second. On call the roll.
Councilmember Foley.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian. Vice
Yes.
Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, I vote. Item 10 is Resolution 22-24. Resolution number 22-24 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, establishing revised fees for parks and recreation facility use, athletic programs, senior programs, and miscellaneous services, superseding prior resolutions and providing for an effective date. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, proper seconds. The item is open on the floor for discussion. Reed, what you got for me?
Yeah, I'm just wanting to understand this a little bit more. So these fees, as I was looking at in our agenda packet, they have ranges. The 30%, is that the maximum we're able to recover based on what we're putting forward with these numbers, or is that the minimum? Is that an average? Just need a little more explanation, because it seems like a 30% cost recovery is not an ideal goal for this. It seems like it would need to be, you know, we're constantly talking about revenue, and we're getting ready to deal with the budget tomorrow. We're talking about handling the city's budget overall, and it seems to me like it's not just enough to look at expenses, but we also need to be looking at revenue opportunities. And
Wayne?
so, can we get a little more information?
Yeah, I'll get Susan Vavallo, our Parks Director, to go into a little more detail. It's 30% of the actual direct cost that we 30% of the total cost. We do recover the direct costs, like if you're paying for uniforms or paying for umpires, but it's a portion that doesn't include staff salaries and things like that. So it was a policy of council from a number of years ago to go at the 30% level, and then she set the ranges to give you buffers in the event it can't go too high or too low without coming back to you, but it's all targeted to get that 30% margin when we come back, and I'll let her go into more detail from there.
Sure. Susan Valle, Parks and Recreation Director. Like Wayne said, the council has had given us direction to stay with 30% total cost recovery. So when we talk about total cost recovery, we're talking about the total cost of Parks and Recreation to the City of Port Orange. So when we went through the exercise was based on, if we don't do any programs in Port Orange, we don't do any sports programs at all, you still have to maintain your parks unless you decide to sell the parks, right? So when they did the model, they did it on total cost, and 30% the council thought was a really good place to be for total cost recovery. I will share with you that we do a cost analysis after every program we do on direct cost. And what I mean by direct cost is, what does it cost us for uniforms, umpires, part-time staff. So the part-time staff, if the program went away, those things would go away. So what is the actual savings? And we make our ranges so we try and cover 100% of the actual program cost. And we are there. We recover that. So as you know, things are changing, right? And prices are going up. We don't have a contract for uniforms right now because the market is so tough we can't get people to bid on it. So we thought the ranges would help us by us to be able to adjust those based on what our costs are to adjust the fee to cover that 100%. Without us having to come back to council every single time we needed to adjust a fee. So that's really where we're at, and that's what's in here. And actually, the big changes in here are our sports programs. It's the rec fees for the new building
Right.
and the new programs we'll be having in there. So that's what it is.
Okay. I guess then it's just a matter of how the rest of this council feels, whether or not 30% is still a good number to target. For me, I feel like we might want to look at that harder when it comes to time to do. We're going to do a rate study on this stuff this year, right? It's one of the things that's going to be. We're going to be examining.
I believe Parks and Rec fees are included in that, but I don't know to what detail and how.
Right, I know
in-depth that
I'm a
is.
little bit on the spot here. I talked about this with Wayne over lunch, but that's not a ton of time to answer a bunch of questions on it. I'm going to vote for it and vote to approve it. I just think we need to kind of have some foresight and some vision for how we want to handle what we want that recovery rate to be in the future, because things are not getting any cheaper. I love the range idea. I think that's fantastic. I'm always a fan of making sure we're taking care of all basis points here. So.
Council, any other comments or questions?
Good comments.
Would anyone here care to speak to the item? Back to us. Final comments? Being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Foley?
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont?
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. Public participation, Mr. Ted Noftel.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Attorney, and Manager. My name is Ted Noftel. I'm a candidate for County Council District 3, which is basically Dunlawton south to the Brevard line. East of Nova is somewhat excluded, and then clearly west of 415 is excluded. I'm in this race basically to tell all who will listen that overdevelopment needs to be stopped, not controlled, not sustained, not made reasonable, but stopped. It is a gross abuse of the people what has happened in this situation. Traffic gridlock is a real detriment to their quality of life. And what solution do we have beyond more development? I don't hear any. More development supposedly will take care of our traffic gridlock. The number one reason we have unrelenting upward pressure on our taxes is because growth does not pay for itself. And if it did, with more people pulling the wagon, wouldn't the load be lighter? But that's not the case. The pressure is always upwards on taxes and fees. And then what will soon be the word of the day is the third thing that's stemming from overdevelopment. And that is the conversion of sewage water straight into our drinking taps. The aquifer is being depleted such that levels and flows will need to be supplemented. Now, this is not my opinion. This is the opinion of the county attorney in a memo he issued on August 15th to county council. I would suggest you guys get a copy of this and study it closely. SB 64 passed in the 2021 legislative session. The state preempted in this area of the law. They did so for a reason, for sure. They've ran test sites all around the state, including right here in Daytona Beach. These were only test facilities, but guess what the result was? The water is fit for human consumption. And that, my friends, is where we are headed as a state and as a county. So for those reasons, I've decided to put my hat into this race, and good luck to me, I guess, would be my thought. Thank you so much for your time, Council.
Thank you, Ted. Robin, did I have any others? No, sir. Okay. Council comments? Let's start on this end with Drew.
Only thing I got, I haven't been out there yet, but a couple, I've spoken up about this before, the grounds at the pavilion. I didn't get a chance to check because I'm working, and so I haven't gotten out there, but I've had a couple people reach out saying there's a lot of trash and a lot of weeds, so I just wonder if we can send code out there and just double check and make sure they're up to the standards that we hold everybody else to.
Wayne, you take note of that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Scott?
No, I don't want to. I don't have anything really particular. Just want to expand on tonight's event honoring former Mayor Alan Green. adding him to the Wall of Honor. Definitely an iconic and an incredibly deserving person that had an amazing vision. I think most of us saw that a national online publication. Can you say online and publication? Does that work?
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
I don't know.
Why not?
So a national online publication recently ranked the city of Port Orange. They ranked the 20 top cities in the state of Florida based on livability for a certain rate, and the rate that they were using as the bar was $3,000. So if you have a $3,000 income or higher, where would you choose to live in the state of Florida? And they ranked the top 20 cities, and the city of Port Orange ranked out #1 in the state, which was amazing. And they cited the livability and all the different things that Port Orange has to offer. In fact, the way and I'm paraphrasing, but the way it was written was it was clear that Port Orange was the #1 city. So I think that, folks like Alan Green, back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, moving into the 90s and the decades we're in now, having the vision of how to lay out a city and how it would fit into the region with Volusia County and us not having a ton of industrial or a great deal of commercial enterprise, or not having the oceanfront real estate or even a lot of river water, intercoastal real estate to drive high property values. How could we do all of this, make every dime count? And that vision has carried on for decades and decades and decades, and you see the product that it is today. And while we know growth is inevitable, we know that property rights and landowners' rights to develop are extremely well protected and powerful in the state of Florida, and they will remain that. So no city, no county in the state of Florida will stop growth, and right now our state is in a huge growth boom. There's no question. Every city in the state of Florida, I think, is experiencing that. And cities that have done extremely well, like Port Orange, will continue to experience that because the demand is there for people to want to come and be part of what folks like Alan Green have built and envisioned and have been part of that development. And I appreciate his comments tonight that it's not all about him, and he certainly passes that on very well, but still he was a driving factor in the face of a lot of that vision for many, many, many years. So congratulations to him.
For those of you watching at home that aren't sure what Scott's talking about entirely, before the council meeting tonight, we held a reception to induct former Mayor Alan Green and recognize his 30-plus years of service to our city into the Wall of Honor. And I believe he's the 24th person to receive that honor. And his picture is in front of me right now. Will be joining the pictures on the wall up there in the next couple of days. So our congratulations to Alan, and our thanks to his family who gave him up for all those years so that we could have him and use him. Chase? I'm sorry. Did you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, I would like to add my comments for the record as well for Mayor Green. As soon as first thing he said when he walked into me was, "Why the hell do you want to be a politician?" And classic Mayor Green persona. My quickest response I could think of was, "I don't. I want to be just like you, a public servant." Because that is indeed what Mayor Green was. He was not a politician. He was not somebody that tried to work it. He wasn't in for the social life. He wasn't in for the accolades. He was in there simply to serve his community. And and that's something that even as a young man I recognized, and as a young adult I got to see and witness how he conducted himself. And one of the other gentlemen mentioned youth sports. Listen, I had a college education paid for because of how Alan and the rest of the staff at the time provided for youth sports here in the city of Port Orange. I'm a product of this community. I've said this time and time again. I am a product of Port Orange and the investment into me. Playing at like Scott played at White Street, and when the new ball fields came here at City Center, and thousands and thousands of hours on that rec center and on that court, and that's due to in large part to the service that Alan Green had to this community. So my extreme congratulations to him, and that's all I got, Mayor.
I'm going to echo what everyone else is saying. Obviously, I was a huge benefactor of a lot of the vision that Mayor Alan Green had, from not only from Parks and Rec, but also just from security and having such a great city to grow up in. I was very fortunate to live here in Port Orange and grow up here, and a lot of that's due to the leaders that came before us. So I'm going to extend some congratulations to this man sitting next to me for doing so well in the election here for go serve at the state level, Representative Chase Tremont here. So I'm very proud of you and very excited for you, brother. I think that's awesome. I'm just heaping praise on everybody here. I also want to give a huge shout out to Parks and Rec. When I came back from that little trip to Boston where we found those sunscreen towers, I had made mention of that, and I saw where we put on Facebook that we've already got those out at some of the parks. In fact, most of the parks, right? Or all of them? 4. All right, so 4 of the parks. But either way, it's I think it's a great thing. I saw it was largely applauded by people on the social media posts, which is awesome. And I just appreciate Parks and Rec getting on that so quickly and finding a partner and getting that done. The only thing I have on here that I wanted to bring to y'all's attention, and I'd already talked to Wayne about this, I got a letter from Drew Carlin, who was actually here tonight. He's from the Port Orange Historical Trust. Sent me a letter asking about a few different things, wanting the city to consider. Some of those are, we can talk about it another time, but one that he had was that currently the Port Orange Historical Trust has a mailbox on the side of the building, which is apparently extremely small, and because of that, they have to get a P.O. box for packages because people won't drop the packages there. He says they need a bigger mailbox. Mm-hmm. And I'd asked Wayne about that. He said he'd like some direction from us as whether or not we're okay with him doing something of that nature. Yeah, if we can pay for that, for a larger mailbox. I mean, Drew was saying tonight he would gladly pay for it himself and put it up with our permission. So I don't know how you guys want to handle that.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah. Okay, just making sure everyone's clear with that.
Get it done,
Did you just make a motion to have Drew pay for a mailbox? Because I'll second it.
Not Drew down there.
Yeah, not this Drew.
Let me make that
The
clear.
other one.
Drew Carlin said that. Although Drew, if you want to volunteer to buy a mailbox, I mean, maybe I'll go half and half with you on it if you want to. All right. So, but no, I just wanted to let y'all know about that. Make sure, see how you guys felt. I don't know if that doesn't need to be an agenda item. I don't believe. So
I think we have consensus.
Okay, just making sure everyone's
Wayne,
okay with
you're
that.
clear on our direction?
To help the volunteers put the mailbox up that they pay for.
with the sore shoulder, right?
We will. We'll get out there and help, right?
All right, cool.
Whatever we got to do.
All right, that's it. I'm good.
Okay. And just my final thoughts on Alan. I had served with him for 6 years on council, which is but a small amount of time compared to his total time. But 6 years ago when I got sworn in, I said this earlier and I said it that night, that he left me big shoes to fill, and there are times when I felt like they were cement shoes, just because of the weight that he has put on expectations for those that follow him. And I think that is just a fantastic legacy that Alan's left us, and it was just so good to see so many people show up in support of him, and so many of the people in the room were literally used by Alan to get things done for our city, whether it be ballparks or water restoration or land preservation. He was hard on his friends, but he got things done, and collectively, that's what a community is. The synergy is, the whole is much larger than the sum of its parts, and that's where Port Orange is today. And it used to be that we were the best kept secret. Scott, you kind of referred to it. We're no longer a secret anymore. People want to live here because of the community that we are. It creates challenges, without a doubt, because people want to live here, because it's a great place to live. But that's what this council, that's what we're charged with, is facing as challenges and maintaining and even continuing to improve the quality of life. With that, I just want to mention, for those of you that have not seen any media anywhere and have no idea, Fish is about to open in the next couple of weeks on the river. And very, very much looking forward to that first phase of the next life of Riverwalk, with many more things to come. So looking forward to that. Christine Martindale, are you around? She's not. I don't see her in the room. I was going to thank her personally and the rest of the staff for the hard work that they put into putting into this evening celebration for Alan and the Wall of Honor. But I guess I will thank her when I see her.
You may get to see her in just a second, I think.
She's still putting in work by helping to clean it up.
Can you answer that question, Christine?
Yes, please.
Yes, say thank you.
The question was, will you accept our gratitude for a fabulous ceremony and the hard work you and the rest of the staff put into it tonight?
She was ready.
Yes, I will.
Okay,
Perfect.
Excellent job.
All right, great.
well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
The public hearing portion of our meeting is now open. We have second reading of ordinance number 2022-21. Item 14 is an ordinance number 2022-21, an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, approving the 8th Amendment to the Master Development Agreement for Crystal Lake Plan Unit Development, PUD, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability of, and providing an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2022-21.
Second?
We have a motion proper second. Second reading of the ordinance. The item is open on the floor for discussion. Council comments or questions? There being none, would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, I even see Tim Berman shaking his head no. Council, final comments? There being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Foley.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stelter.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 15 is second reading of ordinance number 2022-22, an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending the Land Development Code, Chapters 2 and 5, to provide for definitions for speculative and model homes, update requirements for model homes, create provisions for the development of speculative homes in order to allow the construction thereof prior to platting in aid of more timely delivery of homes after platting is complete, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2022-22.
Second.
We have a motion proper second. The item is open on the floor for discussion. Second reading. Council comments or questions?
No,
I see none. Would anyone here care to speak to the item? I see none. Council, final comments or questions? There being none, that's why Tim Berman is over there smirking. Call the roll.
Councilmember Foley.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stelter.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. The public hearing portion of the meeting is closed. Regular agenda, item 16, first reading of ordinance number 2022-23. An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending Chapter 50 of the Code of Ordinances to establish Section 50-40, prohibiting smoking of tobacco in parks, providing for exceptions, providing for codification, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance 2022-23, please.
Second.
We have a motion proper second. The item is open and on the floor for discussion. Wayne, who's presenting?
Susan Lavallo, Parks and Recreation Director, if you have questions.
Susan, this should be pretty cut and dry, and I'm assuming this is very similar to what we used to do before the state told us we couldn't do it anymore, and now that they tell us we can do it again. What's different about it from what we did the last time we had this on the books?
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Susan Val, Parks and Recreation Director. So the only difference is what the legislator put in as the exception, and that's unfiltered cigars. So unfiltered cigars are legal to be smoked in our parks, on our playgrounds, in our ball fields, wherever they'd like, but all other tobacco products will be prohibited.
Susan,
Sorry.
does it include vaping?
It's ignited material, I believe, is how the ordinance is written.
So would that include vaping?
No.
As she looks at the city attorney who's confirming that, would we
Just-
be able to add vaping?
We could.
If council wanted to take that direction.
Yes.
Let me do some research on that before we make that change, but so if this isn't pressing, can we pull this or maybe table? If that's the consensus up here that we want to look at vaping, we can look into that and see if we can bring that back.
Is it possible that we could pass it and include vaping on first reading, and then if we, for some reason we can't? Or are you just trying to be cautious?
I'd rather just table and, if it's not pressing, then and bring it back.
Let's do that. Another couple weeks isn't gonna,
Does it help if you continue it to a date certain to save us the advertising cost?
Whatever,
If you send it specifically to a future meeting date, then it's noticed already.
You be okay for September 20th? Does that give you enough time?
That's fine.
Okay. Council, are you fine with that?
yes?
Yeah, that'll
Can
work.
I have a motion to table for date certain of September 20th, Drew?
Make the motion to table this, date certain September 20th, to allow the attorney to do some more research.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is tabled. Drew, good comment. Let's
Thank
get
you.
it right. If we're gonna do it, let's get it right. That brings us all the way to item 17. Item 17, the recommended motion is to move to approve and accept the donation of the caboose for Depot Park, subject to donation agreement reviewed and approved by the city manager and city attorney, and authorize the city manager and city clerk to execute said agreement, and authorize the city manager and city clerk to execute license agreement on behalf of the city for the purpose of allowing the Railway Society to perform restoration work on city property. Who wants to make that motion?
I'll make that motion. Motion to approve.
Second.
Really hoping you're going to repeat that, right? We have that stated motion as second. The item is open and on the floor for discussion. Wayne, who's presenting on this one?
No, Sue.
Good evening, Susan Vala, Parks and Recreation Director. So you said it pretty well there, Mayor. Mr. Powers, who's been before the council before, has discussed this a little bit. He has, is one of our partners. The Railroad Society's been a fantastic partner to Parks and Rec. They really do a lot to help us keep that park up and provide some activities down there. And this one is of big excitement, right? They want to try and put a rolling piece of stock on the property. They're willing to pay for it. And with a little bit of help from the city as far as preparing some of the grounds when it does come in, if you all agree to it. And then they want to raise funds, continue to raise funds to help with the restoration of it. Some of the logistic parts, we're still not sure if they're going to do the restoration at the New Smyrna Rail Yard, or if they're going to do it on site, depending on what the council's direction is tonight, if you're willing to accept it. But Mr. Powers is here, and he has members of the Railroad Society here if you have any specific questions to the car itself, and they'll be willing to take you through that.
Very good. Without delay, let's get to Larry Powers.
And if I might, Your Honor, Mr. Frazier is here today. He is my consultant on this project, so if we could have
Bring him
come
up with you.
forward. And
Absolutely.
We've had some good news lately.
Consultant sounded a lot like he's responsible.
Well, he's going to answer the hard questions. So, basically what we're trying to do here is we're going to get this caboose. It's the last FEC caboose, as you know. And our society's going to bring it down here. We're going to restore it, and we're basically going to run a railroad on that property. We're going to call it the Port Orange Railroad. And we're hoping to create an experience and include the depot in that experience, putting a museum and gift shop and maybe even some kind of food service there. We haven't decided exactly, but what we want to do is we want to emphasize the history of the citrus industry here in Port Orange, something that I think has been forgotten quite a bit. So the first step is getting that caboose down there. We went down to Pahokee, lovely Pahokee in August. No shade in sight, but we did look at the caboose, and here's the thing about it. It's in a little bit worse shape than what we anticipated. So I don't think that the FEC is going to allow us to restore it on their property, because we were thinking that maybe we could fix the roof and then they would paint the outside, But it turns out we're gonna probably have to take some of that interior out. And when we got up in there, the floor, part of the floor had collapsed. So we're gonna have to replace that floor. I'm trying to draft the Wood Carvers Association, get involved with that, but we'll see how that goes anyway. We're gonna have to replace that floor, but what we'll do is we'll take that wood out and we'll use it for fundraising. We'll sell pieces of it.
Is that what, the whole structure, the substrate of the floor is all wood?
Yeah, it's, you gotta remember, this was a boxcar originally, and
Right.
it had a heavy floor, so you could put freight in there, and it is all wood. So we're gonna have to reproduce that wood, so, for it to be
process.
safe. But, I mean, we believe that we will have a great project here, something that all Port Orange can be proud of. And we were talking, or you guys were talking, and Mayor Alan Green was talking about looking 20, 30 years ahead. Well, we're looking 100 years ahead. We want that building to be there. We want that little railroad to be there, and our society to be there operating and working on it.
Larry, I'm thinking, how wonderful, I know this is a process, nothing happens overnight, but you've got one elementary school in walking distance,
Yeah.
you've got another around the corner, out of 6 in this city, that can take advantage of the hard work you guys are doing, and kids that we'll probably never see, because for generations we'll be able to come and enjoy that and learn something about our city, not just our city's history, but the common history in Florida.
And also railroad operation, because we're going to run it like a railroad. We're going to comply with Title 49 of federal regulations that apply to railroads, even though we don't have to, because it's not connected into the national system. And we're going to have our own series of trainings. We're going to have our own manuals, our own safety procedures, and we might even be able to get a grant from Operation Lifesaver. What they do is they work on crossing gate safety, and they hand out grants and stuff like that. And we're thinking about how we can put maybe a small pedestrian crossing grate that will close when we bring the locomotive out. But we're calling the whole project the Port Orange Railway Experience. And until we find a better name, that'll be the name of it. And I think it'd be something great for the community. But it's going to be a lot of work, and like any old building or old car, this caboose is going to have some surprises for us. There's no doubt about it.
Sure. How totally cool. Questions? Let's start this side. Read what you got.
Well, first off, I say it every time y'all come. I just love your passion for this project. I mean, I really, it just inspires me that you guys care so much about it, and you've made headway since we first started talking 2-3 years ago. I'm just curious. It does say on the letter that you sent to us, the cost to move it's $35 and another $35 to restore. So that's $70 in total. Where are you guys in that funding process?
Well, we're going to actually get a loan and then raise the money for it. So
Okay.
What we would do is we have to have $12,500 to buy it. The $35,000 includes buying it too. And it looks like we're going to have to move it up by truck, and we would estimate $20,000.
I'm gonna guess somewhere in there.
It comes out to about $1,000 an hour, and we're thinking about 20 hours to move it up here from Pahokee, because we have to have 2 trucks. We have to have a truck for the body and truck for the wheel sets. Or the trucks gets a little confusing, but that's what we need.
Okay. Yeah, I was
And-
just curious about the funding side of that. Just
Yeah.
just
Or-
because, not trying to be pessimistic, just trying to kind of think it all the way through. Is you'd hate to see you move it up here and then stall with restoration because we don't have the other 35,000. So that's
Well,
why.
we're going to do our best, and we are going down to the Florida East Coast Railway Society convention, and we're going to try and solicit help down there and do whatever we can to raise funds. One of the things we're going to try and do is we're going to market based on this book. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Chuggy and the Blue Caboose, and it's a story of Chuggy, who saves the day by saving the Streamliner train by getting the snowplow out, but the Blue Caboose is the one who convinces him to do it. So we're calling our caboose now Lucy, based on that story, and we think that's a great way to market it to the families.
Does that mean you're going to paint the caboose blue?
It has to be blue.
Okay.
It was blue originally. I mean, it will be blue probably with yellow markings and tiger stripes on both ends.
Nice.
Nice.
Is the best paint scheme that I've seen. But yeah, it's going to be a risk to raise it. I don't know if we can raise it, but I believe we can. And I think we'll have a lot of attention from the society when we go down there. And we will even talk to, if I didn't mention, did I say about the FEC?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, FEC will have their CEO there. He's the keynote address speaker on Saturday night. Usually at those conventions, you get a lot of access to the top operating officers of the railway. About the only time of the year you can get it, and a lot of things happen from that event.
And
You
this
never
is the-
know. Some of these things might draw the interest of help from state representatives. Who knows? Might end up on the radar somehow.
Well, and one of the other things too we'll do, we can't get this grant now because it's given in September, but next year we'll apply for the National Historic Railway Society grants too. And I don't think that's a matching grant, if I remember
No, that one
correctly.
isn't. There's several others. There's Trains Magazine has a grant out, $10,000. Sometimes people come alongside and match those grants, depending upon the project.
And, you know, we're going to try our outreach to the community. We have some ideas for raising money, like buy a tie. And when we start taking that caboose apart, the caboose has that tongue and groove flooring in it. We're going to try and sell pieces of that floor in exchange for, or not sell them, but have them given out as for donations.
Another great thing. Anytime you can do something where people can buy. I mean, you see like brick walks or whatever, which probably is not the best
Yeah.
idea, but if you could do something small people could donate to, and
No, we're-
on site where these people donated and helped make this possible. Those are great fundraising techniques that will help you generate some money.
Yeah, we were going to do that. We're modeling what we're doing after MOAS and after the lighthouse. And down at the lighthouse, they
Those are
go-
good models. Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
great places to start. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, the Lighthouse Group is coming to see the depot this Thursday. But they have even a place where they hand out bricks for their employees. Their volunteers who work 500 hours, you get a brick there, and it's a separate place on their walkway. So that's also a good idea. But that's one of the other things. Also, we are going to have to be able to put a sign up there, and we're going to have to recognize our bigger sponsors.
Sure.
You know, and especially when it comes to, you know, we'll have to come back to the council and talk to you about maybe some naming rights. Like, if we can find a big enough sponsor who wants to pay for most of that restoration of the caboose, I have no problem naming it after them. You know, we will look around and see what we can do on that.
You good?
I'm good.
Chase, what you got?
No questions. I'm excited about it. They'll hope to get an invite to the unveiling.
Okay, we are too.
Scott?
No questions. I agree with Councilman Foley. You guys' passion and drive for this is awesome, and hopefully it'll. Well, I know it will be. It'll be a lesson and a model for others that want to do things in their communities to put forth this kind of effort and passion and drive towards it. So we look forward to it. Appreciate you guys coming tonight.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, I'm glad you guys are spearheading it. It's awesome. I just can't wait to see it.
We got anybody from the public wants to speak to this? There being none, back to us.
One quick question for you.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Mayor. The wood that's got to go back in. Is that a certain kind of wood? Or
No, that wood's not going to go back in.
No, I'm not saying the wood that's going to. But when you guys refinish it on the inside, you're going to redo it in wood.
Yeah, what they did, okay, it was a boxcar, and then in the 60s when I think it would have been the 60s they made that caboose.
It could have even been before that. I've not been able to get a date on it. Most of the wood that's on the interior is just simply plywood.
Okay.
It wasn't very fancy, and it's just made out of plywood, but it'll be replaced
Yeah,
in kind with what was there.
and what they did there when they built the caboose, or they converted it, they put a thin layer of fiberglass, and that's part of the
Got
problem
it.
with the
Okay.
car that caught water in it, and that's where we have a lot of the rust. So we're gonna have to take
Gotcha.
that all out, unfortunately.
Okay.
We were hoping we wouldn't, but we do.
Yeah, well, you want to make it safe.
Yeah, and we also, one of the most important things is to keep it moving. And so it's just better to preserve it that way
Yep.
when you have something moving. And that car's suffering. We told you last time we thought it was on the track 3 years ago. When we talked to the owner, when we went down there, it was 6 years ago. So that car's showing a lot of signs of having sat there.
Mhm.
But still a great piece.
Understand.
And just one last thing I'm going to say. For the first time, the society recognized us in their magazine. This is the Speedway magazine that the Florida East Coast Railroad Society puts out, and they talked about the improvements that the city did to the depot recently. So that's good.
Away we go.
Yep.
Nice.
You guys good on this end?
Yeah.
Chase, you had something else?
Yeah, just a quick question, Larry. If somebody wants to donate, if somebody's watching on here, or we can spread the word, how do they go about doing that?
They'd have to contact us. We're going to start a GoFundMe campaign for it to start with, but they can contact we have contact information on our Facebook, and then contact me. It's on there.
What's the name of the Facebook page they can find it
It's
on?
Port Orange Railway Society Facebook page.
And you'll be at the Family Days, I'm
We'll
sure,
be at
right?
Family Days, and we attend all the rail fairs over in DeLand at the fairgrounds too. So,
Okay.
yep.
Will you leave your card, or just contact info with the clerk?
Sure, I'll leave. I'll give it to Susan, and
Robin will get it to us.
I have your email if you'd like me to email the information
Please
to
do.
you.
Silly,
Okay.
silly question, but you guys are a 501c3
Yes.
too. I thought so. I just
Yeah, the only thing we're not qualified to do is sell things that require sales tax, but we are certified to take donations. We filed our letter and have it back from the IRS, and we are filed with SunBiz.
There is a PayPal button on the Facebook page to make a donation.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that would be the easiest.
There
Very
you go.
good.
There's the magic words. Council, anything else? Final comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Foley?
yes.
Councilmember Tremont?
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stelter?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
I'm dragging up the rear like a caboose with my vote. That's a yes, 5-0.
So Lucy's coming to Port Orange.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
Outstanding.
All right.
Good job, Larry.
Item 18, discussion of city manager and city attorney compensation. Best my knowledge, we penciled out 3%, if you guys are amenable, but we've actually found a little bit more money in the city manager's budget through some additional savings. If you guys are amenable to it, I would recommend 5% increases for both the manager and the attorney. But I'll leave that up to you guys. I'll let the discussion guide it. That's my, but for starters, those are my thoughts.
Are you open for questions? And
You want to discuss it before we make a motion? That's fine too.
sure, I just want, so at our, the proposed max millage rate, we can fund this, and the 5% that
That's
you
my understanding.
recommend would work.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm good with that. I think it should be more, but we're not there, so I easily support this at 5%.
You want to make a motion?
Sure, move to, let's see, how would I do it? I'd like to move to for the compensation package for the manager and the city attorney, make it 5% for this year.
Effective October 1st.
Yes, effective October 1st.
Second.
That's your motion. Second, the item is open on the floor for discussion. Read your thoughts.
I mean, love to give them, 9%, right? Because I know they're fighting inflation and everything like we all are. At the same time, also realizing that we have a lot of employees and a lot of things in the city we're trying to deal with. There's a lot of budget challenges, and I understand there's a 3% that's already budgeted in there. It's great that we found a little more money in the city manager's budget, just because you found it doesn't need that it needs to go to that exact same place.
Well, there was more than that.
Well, there's
That's just all I was wanting to-
there's even more. So you're sharing stuff that I'd like to know.
I want the savings.
Right. Well, don't we all, right? I mean, I admire both of these guys, and I believe we have really good. I think Matt's doing a phenomenal job, and I think Wayne has done a phenomenal job since he's been here as well. And so it's not that they're not worth every bit of it. It's just that we have a lot of challenges. You know what I mean? So those are just my thoughts. But you know, I'll listen to what everyone else has to say.
Chase?
Yeah, I'm good. Frankly, I'm tired of picking up the tab for lunch every time with Matt. So if this will help with that, then we're good.
I certainly hope you are. Scott?
No, I appreciate Councilman Foley's comments and everything we do from the day it's up here with the city operations, from these folks all the way down to every single employee in the city. There's a balance that has to be found there across the board, and this is part of it also. So no, I'm good with that.
Drew, anything else to add? Nope. Just some thoughts. I really don't like having delayed this conversation. We've already given them their reviews. We did that in a very public manner in May. We had private discussions and then the public review. Both of them did well. I do like to do, and somehow, council, if we could put the compensation question, if not with the review, very close to it, so that the two, because they are linked, they're absolutely linked. Sure. And when we get away from time, now this is just speaking to the future, we're not always going to have a Matt Jones, we're not always going to have a Wayne Clark, and the five of us aren't always going to be up here. We need to make it so, just my thoughts, we link it a little bit more closely going into the budget cycle. We know what we need to do or not do, and it's effective October 1st, and quite frankly, if something hits the fan accordingly and we have to make adjustments, they should be understanding of that, but just my thoughts. Any other comments or questions?
The only comment I would say about that, Mayor, is keep in mind that none of our employees, that doesn't work that way for them. So they all get evaluations, and when they get their evaluations, it has nothing to do with.
No, it's because they're union.
All employees in the whole city get evaluations. The evaluation itself does not correlate to what wage adjustments may be made during that budget cycle, is all I'm saying. So I appreciate what you're saying. You know, I think symbolically too, there's also a thing from leadership perspective. I don't know how the mayor and the city manager feel about it, but there's a concept too that you, especially during years where you've got contract negotiations and things like that are going on, that you want to try the best you can to try to settle and resolve all those issues before you take care and resolve budget concerns, or I'm sorry, benefit concerns for folks up, you know, at the top. So just my thoughts and comments. I can appreciate what you're saying though.
No, I'm just, the best practices of compensation and budgeting in the private sector, it's kind of how it's done. The two are tied. They're inexorably tied.
Yeah, private sector?
The two are inexorably tied, so when we get in the public sector, I don't want to get in, these are my thoughts. I like the job you do, but we're not going to pay you. Or maybe your review wasn't that good, but we got later on down the road and we end up giving you more of a raise because there's more money available than maybe you deserve or whatever. I just want to see better linkage is what I'm talking about here, so that we review both of them in May, and I just would, even if we don't do it at that meeting, it can be in June, but it can't be kicked down the road too far, because we're actually doing the budget reading tomorrow night. So this just adds to the finance director's headaches, but fortunately we have one who's capable. So, any other comments? Anyone here want to speak to the item? There being none, final comments? There being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Foley,
No.
Councilmember Tremont,
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 4-1. City Attorney report?
Is Sue still here?
Sue is here.
So if we were tabling that item, I had a chance while we were having the discussion to get into vaping. and to determine that that preemption that exists for tobacco does not extend to vaping. So if the council wants to untable it, we're still at the same meeting where it's been advertised, and determine to amend the ordinance to include vaping within the prohibition, we can go ahead and do that. I just wanted to confirm, because we're operating in a very small niche in the preemption world that we had to make sure that we're clear on, but I had the opportunity to take a look at that. So if you want to do it now, we can go ahead and keep this moving. We don't have to wait.
I'll
If
make that
not,
motion. All right.
Even though we originally tabled it date certain, we'd still be okay removing it from the
Take
table?
it right back off. Yeah.
All right. I move to untable item 16.
I just want to make sure you didn't leave.
I'll second that. Or no, I made the,
Hang on, the clerk's.
Go ahead, you're fine.
we're okay? Yeah, I'll second his motion. Or do I have to make the motion since I,
Tabled it?
yeah, okay.
Item 16 has been removed from the table
Well,
and is
he-
now
he
being
already
addressed
made it.
again. Just for clarification, item 16, as read into the record, is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending Chapter 50 of the Code of Ordinances to establish Section 50-40, prohibiting the smoking of tobacco in parks, providing for exceptions, providing for codification, providing repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Matt, do we need to put a new motion on the floor?
Yes, now there'll be a motion to amend the ordinance to include vaping within the prohibition.
Okay. The original motion, we are amending the original motion
Move to amend the original motion to
To,
include vaping
in the prohibition.
in the prohibition.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to amend the original motion, which is to approve the ordinance, to include vaping. Council, comments and questions?
Okay, this is for the attorney. The signage is obviously going to say no smoking, to include e-cigarettes or vaping or however. Is it also going to, I mean, are we going to put it out there that if you got an unfiltered cigar, you can smoke, or the signage will just ban it?
We discussed that. We wouldn't recommend including.
We can just
Yeah,
address
I don't want it on
the
the signage unless we
prohibited items.
legally are
From-
required.
Not required legally. From an enforcement standpoint, our folks will have to be educated. The enforcement people will have to be educated to know that that is an exemption. Hopefully, we just don't see that. That's an awkward one. That's one that
Yeah.
we didn't have any control over, but it is what
Well,
it is.
the state has spoken, so it would only be for an unfiltered. Okay,
That's the only
Gotcha.
exception.
gotcha.
Other questions or comments, council?
Just a quick comment, it's very sentimental to see this happening right now. I'm very excited about it. This was something that I remember us voting on one of my very first, within my first few months of being on council
Absolutely,
in
yeah.
2016.
They used our language.
They used our language, yeah. We passed a resolution urging the state to give us this authority to do so. So, thrilled to see it come to fruition.
Any other comments or questions? Would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being,
Mayor, just
there
real-
being none out there, back to council.
I apologize. I just sentimentally, my mom died of lung cancer and never smoked a day in her life, and they told us that it was almost assuredly because of secondhand smoke. And so for something like this, it just really hits home for me, and I feel the need to mention that. Everyone has a right to do what they want to do in their own presence, and I don't ever want to take things away from people, but at the same time, there are things that affect others around you when you do them, and this is one of those. And it may have cost my mom her life. So I don't often get a chance to say something about her up here, and just want to make note of that. I think she'd be very happy about this.
There is a vaping company that just lost a $440 million judgment based on impact. So I have no problem with including vaping and those dangers as well. With that, any other comments? On the amendment, call the roll.
Councilmember Foley?
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont?
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. On the main motion, any other comments? There being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Foley?
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont?
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. So We will see second reading of the ordinance when it comes back to us. We will include vaping in that, so
Let's get the signs printed.
we're halfway there. City Attorney, any other items?
That was all.
Excellent report. City Manager?
No additional items.
Another excellent report. City Council Committee reports. River to CTPO, Councilmember Reed Foley.
Just something to note is that the city pays to be a member of the TPO, and that's currently priced at 10 cents per capita. The executive committee had a meeting, and it was brought up at our regular meeting about increasing that by 50% up to 15 cents. Someone also, that's going to be brought forward next meeting about possibly even switching it to parcels, because you have places like Ponce Inlet that a lot of people have second homes, and they're utilizing these roads, but not necessarily paying for it based on the calculation currently. So they may adjust that calculation to change it to parcels, but they were asking for a 50% increase on that right now. So just be aware of that.
Police Pension Plan, Councilmember Drew Bastian.
Okay, so I was not at that meeting because it was the first day of work for me and the first day of school, so I didn't make it. But in the, I talked with the plan administrator and the performance monitor. So the plan had lost approximately just shy of 9 million from December through May or wherever, and the next quarter. So it gained back just shy of 6 million. So it took a huge hit, and the performance in the previous quarter made it a little bit less painful. And so the plan continues to hold its own and isn't spiraling downwards. It's kind of just holding, and we got to see what the market does. And like any investment plan, it's gonna come and go and earn money and lose money with the market, but it's surviving.
Okay. Fire Pension Plan, Vice Mayor Scott Stiltner.
I'm going to say that belongs to Councilman Foley, who sits on that board.
Hunting.
It's all good. I didn't.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I actually wasn't able to attend the meeting either. I had a scheduling conflict. I haven't heard back what I asked about it. So if you want to throw that on the 20th, I'll try and get some information from Julie over at Enright and see if I can't provide an update on the 20th.
Sounds like a plan. If no other business comes before us this evening, I will see you all tomorrow night. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.